connect, solve painful problems, raise amazing adults, and have healthy families. Welcome to the Sean Donahue Show. Jordan and I do this podcast because we want your family to be close and connected. And we want you to feel empowered and equipped in your most important job, the most important job in the world. Let's go deeper than this podcast. Head to my website, parentingmodernteens.com, and get my email straight to your inbox. And when you're ready to go deep and get serious coaching from me, join me in my VIP membership. Parents are teachers and every home is a school. So teach well, love well. All right, let's have some fun together. What is up, my fellow parents? Hey, a few months ago, Jordan and I filmed a fun podcast. It was called 3 Ways to Screw Up Your Kids. And the stats on that were very high. You enjoyed that episode. It's still there. You learned from it. And so Jordan and I were chatting. Hey, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. 3 Ways to Screw Up Your Kids. But today I realized that I really like the title, Jordan. So I extended the title, and it's a much better title now. It's called 3 Ways to Screw Up Your Kids and What to Do About It. Or it should be and responses so you don't screw them up. Something catchy like that.
Right.
We don't want to screw up our kids, right?
No, of course we don't. And anytime you see some kind of link online where it says like scientists say don't do this, and then we want to click on it. But then when we're done, sometimes we're like, well, what are we supposed to do instead? So at least we're now giving tips of like what we should be doing, because a lot of the stuff you're going to list, we're all doing it.
Yeah,
we do.
I just had an aha moment, man. You are in the news. So you've been in these newsrooms for years and years now where people are putting out negative comments, negative scare tactics to try to scare people into clicking or watching the show. And I know from being your friend for decades now, you've had a problem with that. You've actually spoke up in some of these meetings. But guys, why are we putting out all this negative content? Like, why are we trying to scare people? Did I cross the line in sharing that? Is that accurate?
No, I mean, it's well known now. I mean, death and destruction sells. People click on it, and they know that. And they obviously are profitable companies, and they want your clicks and they want your eyeballs. But the reality is there have been several news organizations that have tried to do just like a good news platform. Okay. And they haven't really succeeded all that well. So I don't know if you remember, like during COVID, I think it was John Krasinski came out with like positive news. And it actually, there was this period where it did really well. Because it did really, and he ended up selling it to one of these news organizations, but you haven't heard a thing from it since. Oh, right. God, so it's like, it's just going back to the way it's always been, unfortunately.
From The Office. Gosh. Well, yeah, anytime. So today we want to make this really clear. We're going to be very negative today. We are. We're going to be like, but we're not going to be two cranky old like white dudes being negative. We're going to be negative in a fun, positive, uplifting, educational, purposeful way. And so we are really thankful that you're listening to us. And I just want to say thank you to our listeners. Jordan and I are celebrating that our podcast right now on the parenting podcast charts is rated number 3 in the English speaking world. And it's just such an honor to be a part of your family's life. So thank you to our listeners and to our sponsors and to just letting us be in your life. Now let's get negative and let's get cranky.
Let's get negative. Let's get negative. No, we're not going to be all that negative. We got to throw some positivity in there too.
Well, yeah, because that is kind of a bait click title, like don't screw 3 ways to screw up your kids. But all right, let's do it.
Okay, so as we start off, we've got 3 of the big headlines here that we're going to run forward with, and we're obviously going to start here with number 1. Sean, what is the number 1 way that we can screw up our kids? Or have you seen parents screw up their kids?
Well, we've talked about this, so you're actually I really am excited to share this. But Jordan and I, this is coming from Jordan and I together. We both feel this deeply. A horrible way to screw up your kids is let the media parent your child.
Oh, that's big.
And you, as the parent, do not parent them. Now, before you zone out or tune off, we have a little twist to this story, everybody. You've heard a lot of people bash on the media, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on YouTube. It's very common. It's not hard to find some parent to be negative. But Jordan, we're both in the media.
I know.
You are like a legit media celebrity in my mind. You're on a global news network. You have on the Weather Channel. I have this podcast has listeners all around the world. My videos are seen by millions of people on a regular basis. So most of our listeners have never had anybody in the media bash on the media and the dangers of the media.
Thankfully, too, you give good advice, and which is why you're so popular, right? So like your media can be looked at as like not necessarily part of the overall spectrum of media until, Sean, you get bought out by one of these big advertisers and you're forced to say things. Then you're going to be part of the evil scum media. It is scary.
My wife and I have chatted about that. Like,
it happens all the time.
Yeah, tell me a story. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to tell a story first, then you tell a story. Tell me if you can. I'll tell a story. Tell a short story right now about something dark you've seen or something negative you've seen, like being in the media like that, if you could. And I'll just tell a short story that I have. Do you want me to tell my story first?
I'll go mine first. Mine's simple, and it's not too dark, but it's basically one of my first jobs. It was in a very small market, and we did this story about Coca-Cola. And we came forward with something they were doing at the facility, at the market I was in, was doing something bad. Well, we had the advertising side of the TV station come over and say, hey, we need to go on air and offer a correction so it doesn't look bad, because Coca-Cola is one of our big sponsors. So we had to like cross the boundaries of ethical journalism, so to speak, which is completely gone, to make friends then with this company because they pay some of these salaries, which if you're a true journalist, how can you do that, right? But they were forced to do that or else you get fired. And we're seeing more and more of that now, unfortunately, and it's terrible.
I like how you said my story is not too dark, because my stories aren't too dark either, but that's the way the media is. It doesn't like overtly like come out and like do this crazy negative stuff. It's always like through the side door, or it's through my stories are not that dark either. Honestly, this story probably means more to you or me than anyone else. But I just remember I've been working with young people for 25 years, and I remember sitting with a group of great, awesome teenage boys who I knew very well. And I was kind of walking through life with them, mentoring them. And they were friends, and I knew their parents, and I was connected to them. And so I just saw this group of kids get iPhones and get apps on their phone, get social media. Right. And I saw what they were looking at, all the stupid stuff, all the racism, all the pornography, all the dumb memes, all the like horrible acting out of like pranks. And I just saw these guys change in a period of time. And it was sad. And so my story's like,
that is very sad. That is like
that is the scene story,
That could be happening to all of us right now. We don't even realize it. Our kids are like on their phones, watching things, laughing. They're still being their cute selves, but ultimately they're being changed from the inside out.
Yeah.
Slow process over time. I'm just thankful that I've kind of moved into a situation where I work for a company now that is just strictly like more scientific, not news-based, just tells, what's happening weather-wise. And I love that. I think it's fantastic. It's been the healthiest place I've ever worked. That's getting out of local news and talking about the negativity that some of us are seeing in our market. So I'm really thankful for that. And I'm really thankful too that you've got the ability to have platforms like this, because what we're seeing right now with podcast networks is you're seeing some of these people with good vibes and good news shine, and they're outshining the negative mainstream stuff.
That's so good. Yeah. Here's something personal, like as somebody who makes social media content, the videos that go the most viral for me are sometimes the most controversial videos that I make.
Yeah.
So like if I make a video that says why your kid doesn't like you, or, hey, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do this one thing that everyone does. Do this instead. Like people get agitated. They get hurt. They get angry at me. They write horrible comments on the video. And so that sends me a message as a social media content creator. I should make more edgy content. I should make more graphic, intense comments, because that's going to make me more popular. And you see how that's just like a horrible,
like psychological, right?
Psychological, right? It's like, what am I really about here? Am I really about helping people, making positive, lovely content, or am I about my own numbers, and my own ego, right?
Right. So that's something we all have to balance.
I made a quiz for you. All right. And if you're listening to this, I want you to take the quiz. So I had this idea. Okay. So my idea was, all right, I'm going to give Jordan a quiz of all these things that kids do on media, since we're like talking about let the media parent your kids, because the media is so influential and they can parent our kids. So I was like, I should come up with like 4 things that the media does and has influenced our kids. And I'll ask Jordan, of these 4 things, which bothers you the most? That was my original idea, but I couldn't come up with 4.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I came up with
There's
9.
Too many. There's a lot.
I came up with 9. Okay. So everybody take this quiz yourself. It's not like a quiz. It's more like a question, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's no wrong question. Okay. I got 9 options. So Jordan, all these 9 things have an influence on your children and my children, all of our children. Which of these bother you the most? And you can come up with your top 2 or top 3.
What bothers me the most? Okay.
Yeah. Like pisses you off, concerns you, angers you, saddens you, whatever. All right. Number 1 option. A very popular thing on YouTube is pranksters. People doing pranks and kids doing pranks, even on like children's, some popular YouTubers where they have like 8 kids or 5 kids, and the kids are constantly doing pranks to each other. But some of them are really mean and they really cross the line. They normalize like this pranking meanness culture. Option 2, mean stuff that you see either in cartoons where kids are teasing each other or being mean to each other, calling each other brats, stupid, idiots. Okay. You see that I was watching a Barbie cartoon with my daughter, and this one girl's calling this other girl idiots and brats. Like it's a Barbie cartoon. They're calling each other these mean names. And they're like the negative antagonistic character. It's like, come on. Option 3, glamorizing toys or money or items. Like, you need this. Like, everyone needs this toy. Like, this is so great. Like, buy me this, daddy. Yeah. Give me that. Glamorizing it. All right. Option 4, ghosts, witches, or spirits.
Okay.
Right? Like they have these shows where it's like normalizing ghosts, finding ghosts, or spirits are everywhere. I saw one article in my research that, there's this one YouTube, and they made a highly edited video where the kids are finding a ghost. Yeah. And they were scared, and it totally traumatized them.
My kids have gone through that too. Yeah.
Right? Traumatized them. All right. Number 5, flirty or romantic stuff. So here you are, your kids are just watching YouTube or YouTube Kids, and all of a sudden there's all this flirty romantic stuff going on. Number 6, option 6, everybody, ads. So your kids are on your iPhone or on your iPad, and then all of a sudden, boom, an ad comes up. And that could be for another game.
Or how about during the political season when they get these ads on like who to vote for? And these kids are like 8 and 9. It's like, Dad, who you vote for? And then they think they've already created like political enemies in their mind, and they don't even know these politics or what they stand for. Okay, keep going. Ads. Good.
All right. Option 7. Kids that portray lying to their parents as normal, hiding things from their parents, or the parents are just dumb idiots. If you need an example of this, just turn on any type of Disney sitcom. Yeah. And almost all the parents are total doofuses. They're idiots. And the kids lie and hide to them, and they solve problems without their parents' involvement constantly. Yeah. All right. Number 8, worshiping or copying YouTubers. That's a strong word, worshiping. But the reality is that some of our children, they kind of have this worshiping vibe with these YouTubers, and they are all about them. And they're just like so addicted to their YouTuber. And the last one, number 9, is you're watching something in the media, and it's clear that they're giving our children bad advice, bad morals. And it's just like the moral of the story is just like janky. And you're like, what the heck is this? Like, why are we watching this? It's like whether it be on the Disney Channel or on YouTube. Okay, man. There's a lot of janky.
There's a lot. And I can only go with what has happened in my life with my kids. So I think that bad advice, towards the end, bad advice or a bad moral to the story or bad morals in life would bug me. And I say this, I don't want to watch this. It's inappropriate, which can kind of blend in with like flirty or romantic. what's sad is we're beginning to see some of these shows that we all grew up with that have kind of changed their morals a little bit, whether it be Sesame Street or, the new thing is like Coco Melon or some of these cartoons. Back in the day, it was very simple and easygoing. And now there's an agenda behind it. And it's almost purposeful thinking of how to influence our kids. And that really bugs me because I'm like, what happened to just Saturday morning cartoons? And it was like good story, good morals, and good family dynamic. That's out the window, man. It's all broken family. So that really bothers me. The ghost stuff, I've seen them do it. They dork around. I try to get more real with that. Doesn't bother me.
Got it.
But one of the things that bothers me is my kids will watch a YouTube video and like to this day, my son is scared to like sometimes go in the ocean. And I'm like, why? Well, there could be a tsunami. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh my God.
What are you talking? So like things like that bug me. Cause I'm like, dude, you can't like, because you saw some like end of the world video. Now it's like, I don't want to live near the ocean. There's could be a tsunami.
That's common, dude.
I hate that.
I've got clients that have kids that are like that.
Like,
and I actually have a stat that I'll read you in a few minutes about that.
Okay.
So that really bothers you.
Yeah.
Seeing that how your kids have maybe been impacted or triggered or traumatized by something they've seen.
If my kids were to start to do these pranks though, to like my wife or their siblings, that would be high on the list, but I'm not there yet. Maybe some of you are, and I'm not there yet. Do you have any that you care to share?
Oh yeah. I mean, the whole list is stupid.
The whole list is great, but
right. Yeah. I really wish I want to ask my wife, Danielle, which I think for me, something that really affects me is the pop-up ads, actually.
The pop-up ads. Okay.
It really bothers me that my child is sitting here playing some childish game, on my phone, and it's just like these graphic ads will pop up. I don't know if you've seen some of these.
I've seen some of them. I've seen some of them.
And it's like, what the hell is going on here? That really gets under my. And then the second thing, as this should not surprise anyone who's been listening to this podcast, the Disney Channel parent.
That really bugs you so much.
Because I just think it's like a form of brainwashing. Like, imagine if your kid is watching Disney Channel like every day. It's
changed. Disney's changed too, man.
You're just gonna think that this is how parents are. You can't trust parents to help you solve their problems. They're idiots.
It's like they glorify broken families.
They do.
It's
broken
weird.
Families, unhealthy families, dysfunctional parents.
Yes.
Dysfunctional parenting. And it's just, I think it's a form of brainwashing our kids. It really bothers me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, some of the parents are funny. That's the thing. It's like, it's a comedy. I get it. But it's like, it's so hard to find healthy parents on the media. I was actually in a group chat with some of my buddies, and somebody mentioned that. Like, if you look at, from Homer Simpson to Phil Dunphy to Ray Romano to King of Queens, like there's like a social norm for some of these very, very, very popular sitcoms. It's the dad is a total doofus, goofy. He's funny. He's passive. He's lazy. And the mom is very on the ball, and she's taking care of so many things. And then she snaps at the parent, at the lazy dad, and she gets aggressive. Yeah. And she gets mean, snarky, and that's her form of funniness. And it normalizes something that I don't think is funny. It's like, where are the days of the Cosby Show where you have these really healthy parents, actually? Like Mr. and Mr. Cosby. I don't know if you ever got into that show. It's hard to find sitcoms with two healthy, mature parents.
Right. I mean, even you can go to Full House, but his wife passed away. So you just had this. Yeah. What I liked about Full House is it had a family dynamic where it was like, it takes a village to raise a family. Right.
And they were healthy.
I enjoy that. Because it really does.
Full House, good point. Yeah, good point. Uncle Danny and or Danny was the dad or uncle.
Uncle Jesse. Uncle Jesse, which was the hard draws. He does
on social media.
Shout out to John Stamos. That's
shout out
John
Stamos. I knew like when one of my accounts started to get some followers.
Dude,
The Rock
cool.
follows me.
The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that he watches my videos. That's a good feeling. Hey, so there's 3 forms of media that I want to get negative on, and I just want to get negative because I want to inspire you, and I want to give you some things to think about. So I've got some stats that I want to share. Here's the first stat. Okay, let's talk about YouTube real quick. Natasha Daniels is a psychotherapist. She works with kids. She's got a website called anxioustoddler.com, and CNBC reports a quote that she said that she's seeing a lot of issues with YouTube in her practice. YouTube is an ongoing conversation in my therapy practice, and that indicates that there's a problem. She said in the last 5 years, she's seen a rise in cases of children suffering from anxiety triggered by videos that they've seen on YouTube. Just like you talked
Did she
about
get into, I wonder which videos they're watching, because everyone's got their own algorithm, right, of what they watch. But you've got the big ones. Mr. Beast is big, and there's some good in there that he does sometimes, but there's also some pranksters in there as well. Luke Davidson was one of my kids watched for a little bit. They finally moved on from that. We had to put a squash to that one. And then you've got gaming. A lot of kids watch gamers play.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that makes them anxious because they're not as good or whatever.
Yeah. And here's something personal. Here's a quote from acpcspsychology.com. I think it's based out of Australia. I think we didn't have YouTube when I was growing up, but I can see how watching this TV show, it's called Jackass, and I was in I think college age years. Even though I wasn't young. The show was incredible. They still make movies. I love those movies. I love those guys. And my friends and I, we copied them.
Oh, we did.
We did a lot. You and I copied them. I remember, like, how many times have I pushed you into a shopping cart and push it into a curb, and then you and your buddy then fall into the bushes. Oh man. And so my friends and I did a lot of this stuff, and some of it crossed the line. We did weird stuff, we did illegal stuff, we did immoral stuff, and it normalized it. And so this is the problem now. What we see, here's a stat that they came, Google found that, ready, listen to this, 70% of teenagers, that's a lot. 70% of teenagers, what we're about to read, this is serious biz, reported stronger relationships and engagement with YouTube celebrities than traditional celebrities. Okay, that makes sense.
Because that's where the eyeballs are, right?
Not only that, but 40% of teenagers reported that they believe their favorite YouTube content creator understood them more than their real life friends.
No, really?
I know.
I hate, that's one of the things that triggers me too. When kids are just like, you just don't understand. Oh man, I'm just like, A, we've been in your shoes. B, then help us understand. Don't just sit here and complain. And they do that a lot with these shows with teenagers. But
how about this? The future is here, everybody. You ready for this? Bridal found in 2017 found both human on YouTube, both human created and bot created content is now coming. And this was in 2017.
Right.
And these bots, they use child-friendly characters such as Peppa Pig or Marvel superheroes and place them in extremely violent and disturbing situations, such as Peppa drinking bleach or eating her father. What humans initially created proliferate through the website, through bot creation and this recommended algorithm, such that hundreds of these videos can be created in a week.
Yeah. Well, shoot, with AI coming out, the amount of videos that are coming out are going to be even more alarming than there is right now. And the algorithm is so important too, because one video that you like or look at, it'll just send you more. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, our brain is triggered to the negative, which is why, going back to the beginning, the media feeds off that negativity because we are kind of fight or flight. Historically speaking, we had to make sure that we were safe with big beasts around, but now we live in homes and we're comfortable. We don't have to do that anymore, but we still have that mindset to watch out for something that could kill us or harm us.
When YouTube Kids came out in 2015, I was very excited. That was almost 10 years ago because I really thought, wow, this is going to be a highly edited, safe place for children. If you ask 10 parents how they feel about YouTube Kids, you are going to get 10 different responses. My wife and I are not a fan of YouTube Kids. We've seen some trash on there that we do not like. We do not support. How do you and your wife feel about YouTube Kids?
Yeah, so it's better than YouTube, but it still has definite flaws, and you have to be mindful. It's like being a parent now these days is so much harder because of the technology, and we have to be on our A game as parents because we really need to have these boundaries within the tech world. Yeah. And some of us don't do that. We trust our kids, we let them be kids, but the problem is that's terrible advice to just let them, fly on their own, push them out of the
really
nest before they're ready
go
to
here,
fly.
watch YouTube Kid for 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
But here's part of the problem that we haven't, no one's talking about this. I don't think I've ever talked about what I'm about to say. And I would like to think that in 10 years, this problem is going to be fixed. Let's chat for a second about autoplay features on YouTube Kids. So here you go. When we were growing up, you'd watch an episode, and then you'd have to watch the cartoons. Your parents could see what you're watching. And then if another episode came on afterwards, it was very clear. Now with autoplay episodes, you do not know. You not only do not know what your kid is watching, but YouTube is now deciding what our kids are watching. That is screwed up. Here's a politician wrote this, because this politician did a lot of research into YouTube Kids on their autoplay feature. And Vox.com reported this quote that says, if you're a 6 or 7-year-old, listen to this. This is dark. If you ask me, this is dark. If you're a 6 or 7-year-old child, you're basically watching what's recommended to you. Representative Lori Traham said, if you combine that with the endless loop of autoplay, then if you're sitting next to your child while they're watching YouTube, that can get away from you pretty quickly. So you know what's a great way to screw up your kids?
Give them the phone.
Let the media parent your kids.
Let the media parent them. Yeah.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to autoplay that crap.
It's so easy though, man. It's a free babysitter. It's like it gives you that second of breath. I guess before it was like, get outside and go play. And now it's like, here, take the phone or the iPad for 30 minutes. But the more and more you read these stats, and I see them all the time, the more anger I feel inside and the more of a helicopter parent I want to be, which is sad. But it's like, it's so bad for our kids. It's bad for adults, let alone these kids' minds that are still developing.
So hard being a good adult, raising good kids. Let's talk real quickly. Here's a quick thing on Snapchat. Snapchat's a part of the media. Snapchat invented this very, very powerful thing. Have you heard of a Snapchat streak before?
No, I'm not on Snapchat, so I don't.
Snapchat streak's been around for, I think, about 7 or 8 years. It's
like how many videos you can watch?
Nope. It's like this. If I send you a Snapchat, then I create a streak of 1 day. If I send you a Snapchat the next day, our streak is now 2. If I send you a snap of 3, now my streak is up to 3 days. So what is extremely, extremely common for teenagers is what's called Snapchat streaks. And they want to keep their streaks going every day for weeks, months, and years. How brilliant of a move was that by Snapchat?
That is terrible. So if the kids go on vacation and they're out of Wi-Fi for whatever reason, they lose their streak, they're going to get all depressed and bummed out. The kids will.
Oh, you could say that. And actually, there's even scientific research to support what's happened to our kids' brains because of streaks. Talk about a weird website. Here's a website called ScienceDirect.com.
Okay.
Here, I'm going to do it in a cheesy voice so I get sick of it. They have an article that says, and some actual scientific research where they actually survey 2,483 kids. Dang. And the title says, how are these forms of gamified interactions associated with problematic smartphone use and the fear of missing out amongst early adolescents? Kind of nerdy, but did you get the gist of that title?
Right.
Okay.
The more and more we are on these gaming devices, the less and less that we are, or the more and more we're missing out on normal childhood, I guess.
So yes, they actually termed that the Snapchat streak is almost like a game. It's like a gamified. So what they're doing is they're turning things into games, right? So this is why Fortnite is so popular. It's free. It's a constant game, and there's games within the game. And so here's a short survey. What they said is that so they studied these kids and what they were like if they could not do their streaks. And essentially what they found is that the results indicated that girls were more likely than boys to engage in streaks, and they were more likely to engage in streaks for a longer period of time. Okay, not a big chop, but problematic start, and this is their nerdy way of saying, no offense to nerds, problematic start form use was associated with the engagement in Snapchat streaks. Okay, so it caused problems. And it also says that is that the number of days of adolescent maintain the streaks continued to it being in a poor relationship with that cell phone. So essentially, if your kid is doing streaks, they have a greater chance of having a dysfunctional relationship with that phone and having a higher increase of FOMO. So they're feeling this anxiety like they're missing out because of these streaks.
So I'm going to ask kind of a deeper question here. FOMO is something, I mean, we can all understand what FOMO is. And I remember in like middle school and high school, if there was like a clique, a group of people that you wanted to be a part of, the popular group, whatever, you would have a fear of missing out because that was the popular group. Let's say like in every movie establishes the popular people throw a party. And if you're the nerdy kid, which a lot of us were, I was, and you don't get invited, that's you missed out and you're all bummed out. But you get invited and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm part of the cool crew. Yeah. So my question now goes back to Snapchat. Is it weird now that you have this dynamic where you have to be involved in this digital age in order to do things as a child in the real world? So if you cut it out completely, are you then increasing the FOMO probabilities because now these kids aren't on Snapchat and therefore aren't making friends?
I think the answer is yes. I'd love to get your answer to your own question, because if you're, let's say you've got a child and they're a freshman in high school and you say no Snapchat.
Right.
Well, that's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for them because so many are on Snapchat.
Or that's how you get invited. How did you guys know about the party? Oh, it was on Snapchat. Didn't you see it? No, I'm not on Snapchat.
Or let's say that then you give your child Snapchat and it's just going to cause so many other issues. They're going to be, the studies said they're going to have a hard time with streaks. I've been telling people this even on this podcast for years. I've been working with freshmen in high schools for a long time. And in my opinion, I think the number that I usually say is 80% of ninth graders, freshmen in high schools, this is my opinion, they do not have the emotional maturity to have an unregulated cell phone. They
100% agree with
the
you.
Emotional maturity to be able to have these powerful apps like Snapchat, YouTube, and Instagram without a parent's either, help, involvement, and limits. And that should not come to any surprise to any of us. They're very young at that age, very formative.
The reality is it's hard enough for adults, but like eventually as an adult, you come to realize you don't care what other people think about you. You know yourself and you're happy with yourself and you are your own motivator. But I don't know what age that happens for several. For some, it's their entire life that never had it. So like these kids want to be loved and approved by their peers.
Yes.
And us as parents are like, listen, it doesn't matter what Sarah thinks of you. You're all mad because Sarah said this. Why are you giving Sarah weight with what she said to you? But it's like these kids haven't learned that yet. And so we need to be on Snapchat almost to have this feeling of like approval. But the problem is it's causing problems.
I've got a freshman in high school right now. She does not have Snapchat. And she will have Snapchat one day. My 18-year-old has Snapchat, but it's just challenging. It's a challenging time. But if you give your child this access to this media, you've got to ask yourself, is this media raising my kids? Can I pick on two other forms of the media before we move on?
Please.
So, I have a problem with these ads, dude. These pop-up ads on children's games. And this one daughter, she actually wrote a paper on it for school. And,
really?
And I have this paper in front of me. I want to read a couple quotes that my daughter Miley wrote for a paper.
Okay.
She wrote in this paper why kids shouldn't have advertisements on their games. That's the title of the paper. And here's a couple of things. She writes, the average child views more than 3,000 ads per day.
The average child views 3,000 ads per day?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
On television, internet, billboards, games, and magazines. Some people think that commercials are harmless on these kids' games, and that it's just someone advertising another innocent game. Although ads can be quite harmful to a child's brain and possibly cause problems with the child and the parents. Listen to this. Have you ever been watching your child play a game on an iPad, and all of a sudden an ad pops up, and you see that there's the ad is showing a woman having her clothes taken off into her underwear? Or
what?
Two people kissing, or two women kissing each other, making out.
No, I haven't seen this.
Well,
is it a movie or is it a game?
No, man, I've seen it like dozens of times. And I've learned that on these games, some of them are rated 4 and above. Like Twitter used to be rated 4 and above. Can you believe that? That Twitter is allowed for 4-year-olds, even though Twitter had a major pornography problem.
Oh, huge.
Until they addressed it. A major pornography problem.
Yep.
But what I've learned is that on a lot of these games that are children's games, they're rated, I think I'll look it up on my phone right now. They're rated at 12. They're rated for 12 and up, and they look like a children's game. But if you have a game that's rated 12 and up, then they can have these very sexual ads bombarded on them. I'm surprised you've never seen them.
I've not seen that one. I'm so glad I haven't.
And so my daughter reports that Common Sense Media finds that 50% of teenagers feel addicted to their mobile devices.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'd say at least once they get it, man.
This is from her personal experience. Little kids seeing ads that are inappropriate or made for higher ages can plant bad images in their minds.
Yeah.
It can change the way that they think. According to a review written for a game called Episode, which is rated for ages 12 and up. This is a review that a parent wrote. This game is horrible, and the ads are even worse. The ads are shown while playing other games rated for ages 4 and up, and they contain horribly immoral things. Another review says, please do not let your children get this app. It starts off harmless and gets progressively more inappropriate. Also, my child spent $40 in purchases accidentally without the app even notifying me.
Oh,
That
jeez.
is a problem with our society, man.
Yeah. Don't let the media parent your kid, meaning don't just rely on.
Don't be lazy.
Don't be lazy. Don't rely on the words coming from the media. And it could be innocent. It could be cartoons. It could be Disney. It could be whatever. They send messages. And if you're comfortable with that, then that's fine. That's your prerogative. You're the parent. But what we're trying to say is be active and keep an eye out on it, because ultimately our kids are being influenced whether we like it or not.
One last thing on the media, just to bring it to your attention, Jordan, the pornography, I don't know if you heard this, but the pornography industry is alive and booming. Let me ask you a question. You've probably heard the stats that the pornography industry is very, very wealthy.
Profitable.
There is an industry that's extremely wealthy too. The NFL is extremely wealthy. Many people watch football games on Sunday, Monday, and Thursdays. That's almost half of the week. In fact, the stats on who even watched the NFL games over on Christmas Day, they outrank the NBA games times 5.
Dang.
5. It used to be just NBA basketball on Christmas Day, and NFL was like, no, we want Christmas now. And it beat it by 5 times. Who do you think's more? And you think about all the NFL memorabilia that you own and people wear. You go out and you're going to see NFL memorabilia. You're going to see shirts, hats. You're going to see sports cards, tickets, commercials. Who do you think makes more money? The pornography industry or the NFL?
It's weird to think, especially when you list everything that we all own when it comes to professional sports. I mean, you see it everywhere. And pornography is like this hidden thing where it's not talked about as much and as common. But I'm assuming you're going to say the pornography industry.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to surprise you. The porn industry makes more money than Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, and NFL combined.
That's wild.
Furthermore, according to statistics, this is reported, by a lot of websites, porn sites get more visitors each month than Netflix, Amazon, and Twitter combined. My mind is just shocked right now.
Yeah.
In fact, one specific porn site, Xvideo, on its own, is bigger than Dropbox, CNN, and New York Times combined.
That's crazy. That's sad.
Oh, MindGeek, who owns Pornhub and other porn sites called Brazzers, YouPorn, and Reality Kings, is one of the top 3 bandwidth consuming companies in the world. The other 2 are these small little websites, you might have heard of them, called Google and Netflix.
Oh.
So I used to do a lot of speaking in freshman health classes. I would be there to give a part of this nonprofit, and then we'd be talking about healthy choices, loving yourself, self-esteem.
Okay.
And I would ask the group this story. And I would say, guys, everybody, ask me this. Raise your hand and answer this question. What would a ninth grader be like if they grew up on the media? And they grew up at a young age, just on Snapchat, watching political ads, watching anything on YouTube, watching rated R movies, looking at pornography, and no adult ever said to them, hey, little guy, you know what you see online here, this is not real. Like, you don't want to be acting this out. This is just entertainment. It's just, you do not want to do what you're seeing on these movies, on this YouTube, and in this pornography. This is all distortion or a version of reality. No adult ever spoke wisdom into that. What would this freshman in high school be like? And take a guess. I think you'd probably know. What do you think their answers were?
I was going to ask if you asked this rhetorically or if you actually asked them to stand up and talk.
They would raise their hands.
Shoot, I don't know. Me as a ninth grader, what would I say? Would some say, well, we would just regulate it ourselves? Would some say, well, we would just keep doing it. If no one told us it was wrong, we just would probably keep doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know what their answers were, but
my favorite answer was the kid who didn't answer, who just like had huge eyes and you could tell they were thinking.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the most popular answer was that they would be popular and they would be just a horrible person, extremely selfish. Some would say that they would be dead. Some would say they would just have no boundaries. They could be in jail. They could just like have no friends. They would just be so hard to be around. And it was good listening to their answers because I think all that would be true.
And you know what? That was a great question you asked. They've never had that question asked to them before. I love it when you can ask questions, and parents, we're all included in this. We can teach through questions. We can set up a story, like Sean says, and say, what would you do if, and let them come to the conclusion themselves instead of us just saying, hey, get off that device. You put a question like that in them, and then they're going to come to that realization on their own. I don't parent with questions much. I should, because it's good. That's a great question.
Yeah, that's actually a good transition, because today's episode is not 3 ways to script your kids. It's what to do about it.
Yeah. So let's ask the family coach. I mean, obviously, we come to the conclusion that we're never letting our kid watch YouTube ever again. But the reality is that's not going to happen.
No, of course not.
So what do we do, family coach?
Well, yeah, let me tell you some thoughts to come off, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, because this is heavy duty. We're being pretty negative here, and let's do something about it, because these things are a part of our lives. They're not going anywhere. Your kid may not have YouTube right now or Snapchat right now or be looking at pornography now, but they will at one point. Very likely these things are, here's a couple things and then that I thought of. One is say no to as much as you can for as long as you can. Kind of makes sense, right?
Brilliant.
I have a new client, and he's like, yeah, we made a big mistake. We gave our 7-year-old a phone, and now she's 12, and we got major problems, right?
Dude, we've got a friend in the neighborhood. It's 9 years old, just got a phone. And I'm like, that is not what you want to do, man. But I can't parent other parents. So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Number 2, create predictable rules. Predictable rules, structure. So a couple of rules I have in our family is, this is just works for us. You could do what you think. When we go on a car ride, my daughter knows that she's not getting a phone. Sometimes on longer trips, we give her a phone, but it's just predictability. Like if you go to sit down at a restaurant, don't expect to have a phone. You're not playing with that stupid tablet they give you at the things. We used to have a rule when our kids were younger. There's no TV on school days. So don't even ask. There's no electronics on school days. Now that was very conservative. We don't have that anymore, but there's just, you tell me a couple rules you have. It's like, this is the rules. Don't ask. We don't argue about it. You got any rules like that around screens or media that's just predictable rules?
Yeah, I mean, it's an hour of tech time, and that is all you get. Sometimes when they get in trouble, we still we'll remove that free time for them, and then they will know not to ask anymore. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. Yeah,
an hour, predictable. There you go. No discussion, no whininess. This is so key. I was talking to a mom inside my membership yesterday because she's got some problems with her kid with screens, and she's not using number 3. Number 3 thing you can do is use technology to install limits on all these screens.
Yeah, that's good.
Short versions. Let the tech. You don't have to be the bad guy. You don't want to do emotional parenting around screens.
Turn off the Wi-Fi.
Use a site like Net Nanny, or use your Wi-Fi. Use your AT&T. Use a site like Bark.us or use Apple's built-in screen time features. Use the parental units on the Switch or the Xbox, and set it up and use those things so that you don't have to do emotional parenting around these things. I think it's super helpful tip.
I think that is helpful. In fact, I was looking into that the other day. Now, are all these you have to pay for, or are there some free versions out there too?
Yeah, some are free. Some are free, and some you have to pay for. Yeah, but they're just so helpful. Why would you not? It's like putting a safety on a gun or a safety seatbelt. Thinking of that. Tip number is think of all these screens as a rifle or a car. A rifle in a car is a very, very dangerous device.
Totally.
And you've got to realize that all these screens are extremely dangerous, and you want to teach them to your children that how dangerous they are, and to realize that this whole dynamic is either built or broken on the word trust. I'll have a whole new episode or other stuff on that. Trust is so key. Don't you think?
Yep. What else?
Next tip would be hyperactive in your child's until freshman year. Be super vigilant until freshman year.
Me as a parent be super vigilant?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then I can give some freedoms around that after that time?
You've got a young adult who's going to high school.
Yeah.
So you got to start loosening up.
Okay.
If you're still trying to micromanage and hyper control everything in a freshman's life, it's not going to work. It's going to start causing problems. Does that kind of make sense? You've got a young adult, you got to start. And if you feel like they're not ready for a device at that time, well, then do what I tell you to do. Use the limits.
Right.
Get the devices, or just take the app away if they're not ready.
That's good. That's good.
Lastly this is very key. Talk about how you feel. Talk about how you feel. The way we connect over and the way we defeat the media is not through lectures, pep talks, punishments, scoldings. It's about feeling.
Yeah.
Speaking in the heart. So when I see these horrible ads, these sexual ads of women being stripped down on an iPhone game, or people doing perverse acts, sexual acts as an ad, I tell my kids that really makes me sad. That really makes me angry that you're a child and this is happening.
Right.
Let them see your emotions and your humanity when you see a violent, ad come up, or a political ad, right? Does that kind of make sense, dude?
Yeah, because then they can understand why you might be issuing stricter, rules because of what you're seeing, what they're seeing. And also, I love it when I can talk to my kids about some of the stuff that's on there, and not only how it makes me feel, but one of the reasons why I have these rules is because, dude, you're a kid, you need to go out and play. You don't need to be looking at this stuff. You don't need to be looking at which politician in the state of Georgia is bashing another politician. Come on, man. Man. That should not worry you at all.
Yeah, dude.
So again, we went through a lot on just topic number 1, but the moral of the story is do not let the media parent your kids. Do not let these devices, even just these movies. I mean, shoot, they've had to change the rating system. It used to be, you had NC-17, you had rated R, you had PG-13, you have PG, you have G, but they've actually changed some stuff to allow things that used to be rated R now slide to the PG-13 category. So curse words are allowed more. Some sexuality is allowed more.
I've noticed that.
It's terrible. They've changed the criteria. And so even if you think, hey, this is honest, the rating, I'm going to trust the media because there are people out, don't trust them. Don't trust them. So that's number one. Let's go to the second way that we could screw up our kids.
And Jordan and I, just so
we
you
won't
know,
go as long.
We're not going to spend as much time on these things. We really wanted to hit the media hard, and we hope you found that helpful and positive, inspirational. And so we don't want to screw up our kids. The second thing that Jordan and I came up with is a little bit of a grander statement is, Jordan, let's not let society parent our children.
Right. And that's
if we
good.
Let society, just trust society, parent our kids. I think it's really going to screw up our kids. I don't think
100%.
I don't think it's trustworthy.
Society says, what's the stats of how many people are divorced? Society says this is healthy when the reality is it really healthy? Like, let's look at the food diagram for a second. Like, should I be feeding my kids this? Society says anything. We could pick a category, whether it be medicines that we have to give our kids, and it's like, well, society says that we're supposed to be doing this. And it's like, you know your child, you know your family history, you know what's best. So don't get pressured by society because society is telling you to do something if in your gut it's telling you that it's wrong. And I remember when we've had our twins first, my wife came to me with something society told us that we were supposed to be doing. And she said, in my gut, this feels wrong. And I can't tell you why. My motherly instinct is on fire right now. Yeah. And you have to trust me and you need to do some research with me. And so we did it and we totally changed our mindset because society said one thing and we were supposed to just trust it.
Yeah. Can I tell you something I love?
Yeah.
I love Costco.
You know what I love about Costco? What is it, like $1.99 hot dog or 99-cent hot dog, whatever it is?
I think it's $1.49.
$1.49. That food is so good. It's so bad for you.
I think most people, if you were in that exclusive membership called the Costco, I think you probably love Costco. There's so much to love about Costco.
You know what I don't like about Costco?
Model? What?
The gas lines. I love the price.
Oh, yeah.
But dang, trying to get gas at Costco, you're getting a fight.
Forget about it. Yeah. It's like, is saving like $2 on your gas really worth 20 minutes of your time? Right. Here's some thoughts on parenting in Costco. I think there's a lot of reasons why we love Costco. They know us. They do market research well. They know what we want and what we don't like. They are always coming up with this perfect algorithm of like our old products that we like and then throwing in new products. They have a way of just helping us to feel good and buying in bulk and feeling like we made a good deal.
Yeah, you got a deal.
Have you ever noticed that it can be really easy to fall in this trap where you just keep buying whatever Costco is selling you, like even at Christmas,
dude, you're not talking about just Costco. You're talking about consumerism, man. Yeah. Think about the sales. It's like, we got to go shopping day after Christmas sale. We got to buy because we're saving. Right. It's like, how are you saving if you're buying? You're not saving. You're just consuming. More stuff.
Because it's like Costco is here. And even one of my relatives, like they bought a bunch of great gifts for everybody, but half of the gifts they bought at least were from Costco. And I'm not judging them. They were great gifts. But here's what I've noticed about Costco, especially for like middle-aged men, that if you could easily start buying all your clothes from Costco. They have some good brands there now. And like, if you start buying all your clothes from Costco, here's what probably is going on in you. One is like, you're not cool anymore. You are not cool. I'm sorry.
On.
You're not.
Come on. Why are you saying what I wear makes me cool, man?
I'm sorry.
I like my fanny pack.
I know.
Okay. Like, come on, dude.
No, you don't wear a fanny pack. Fanny packs are actually cool now. I actually got one. A young, cool friend got one for me. But you're not cool anymore. What you're doing is you're just kind of, it's lazy. It's easy to shop for clothes and for things at Costco. But here's the thing. If everybody starts buying their clothes and their food from Costco, we're all going to start owning the same things. But it's already happened. Do you agree with me that most people who shop at Costco, you actually own a lot of the same things? Do you agree with me? Or is that too weird of a statement?
I mean, you're probably right. I don't know. I don't shop at Costco, so I don't do the big box stuff.
So if you go to someone's house who shops at Costco, you're going to see that they have a lot of the same things. But here's the moral of the story is like, if you just go along with society because it's easy and you just do what society tells you to do, the stats are going to show up not in your favor. Even this, here's an interesting stat. This is a well-known stat. I heard it just yesterday and I was shocked. Jordan, did you know that in 2019, a research report came out that 88% of Americans are unhealthy?
Yeah. I mean, shoot, makes sense to me, I guess.
I
I mean, if you follow what this system is set up to make you unhealthy so that you have to go to the doctor, so you have to get your medicine, so you have to be on prescription. I mean, it's set up for you to fail.
88%. And then they did another report in 2022, and the number rose. 93 parents. The research reports 93% of Americans are unhealthy. I looked a little bit deeper.
That's
into
a
this.
lot, really? 93%?
And they call it metabolic unhealthy, which means like they average 5. They look at those 5 numbers from like cholesterol to those things.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know to bash on society. That's a pretty big take right there, but it's not, I'm not trying to bash on any specific part of society. I just think it's really healthy for us parents to look at media and look at society and say, you know what? I'm not just going to go with the flow here. This is my child. I'm going to be mindful about how I parent them. And I'm not going to let Costco or big pharma or big corporations tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And that's the moral of the point too, isn't it? Is that the gist of it?
It really ticks me off when I see health guidelines by like the big government sources that are saying like, hey, we're going to put this on the do not eat list. Like for instance, right now they're coming after meat, right? If you eat meat, you're bad. Meat is bad. It's bad for the climate. It's causing problems.
Oh my gosh.
And then yet they'll say you're only recommended to have this much a week, but you can have as much Lucky Charms as you want. That's no problem. That's fine to eat. And it's just like it's society saying something that you know is not true. We just have to open up our eyes to it and not be gullible to what everything what everyone is telling us, and do what we think is right. Do our own research. That's
I think
2.
we could at a point 3 ways to screw up your kids and what to do about it. I think we probably should make a whole episode about this, but let's just touch on it real briefly. So Jordan, why don't you take this one?
Topic number 3.
What's a third way to screw up our kids? And then we're going to rap about it for a second.
Okay. So Sean talks about this a lot. This could be the most important thing. It's not having that family first leadership style. And if you guys are active listeners to the podcast, you've heard Sean tell stories before about what's actually important in your family's life, in your kid's life. If you get into a fight with your kid and you don't resolve it, and you have to take them to practice, and you have things to do, the reality is this little moment is going to multiply and cause big scars down the road. And so what we really need to do is figure out how to focus on family first. But how do we do that when, once again, society says we got to wake up at 5:45, we got to make breakfast, we got to get them out the door, get them on the bus, got to go to rehearsal, got to go to sports activities, time for dinner, got to go to bed. There's so much we're doing. We're controlled by these devices in our pocket, the watches on our wrist. There's not enough time in a day. And so, Sean, your advice is great, having these heart-to-heart connections with our kids. But some of us are just like, dude, I don't have time for any of this.
Seriously. Well, Jordan, when Jordan and I were crafting this episode, we actually paused and we chatted for a second and we asked each other, okay, if your family is not first place in your life, what else could it be? And we actually came up with a list of things that for some parents, this is their number one thing. They don't actually put their family first. Their parenting style, their leadership style is, believe it or not, they might say family first. They might have their last name tattooed on their back, but they're actually not living it out. And so, Jordan, we made a little list.
We did.
And so, I'll start off. Here's what I think for some people have first place on their list is work.
And the tricky thing about work, Sean, is we could use that as an excuse to have a family first mindset.
They do. I think people do all the time.
I got to work. I got to pay for a mortgage. I got to work. I got to pay for the car. I got to work. I got to pay for your band practice. I got to work. I got to do this. I got to work. We got to go on vacation. I got to work. Yeah. You need clothes on your back, which is true. So, don't get me wrong. We got to work. I get it. Okay.
We have to work.
We have to work.
We're not trying to judge you. We're just trying to open your mind. Let's say you have 2 parents in the house, which is great, but they both work and they both work a lot. They work more than 40 to 50 hours a week. It just makes me wonder, just for you to think about, are you really putting your children and your family first? Or are you really prioritizing work? I'm not saying you are or you aren't. I'm just asking a hard question. Here's a stat that I found from Clockify.me.
That's a website for you.
Research indicates that workaholism affects 27 to 30% of the general population.
At least. Yeah.
Could that be something that people are like, you know what, they might say family first, but it's really not the case.
What about for those families?
Like working.
What about for those? Okay, so these are the people that like are choosing to work over, like, because some people have to work, right? It's like, I work 3 jobs. I'm a single parent. I got to work 80 hours a week just so I can pay rent.
Exactly. Those are right. Are we going to label that wonderful single parent as a workaholic?
Because they don't want to do it.
Parent who's got debt.
Yeah.
And they're grinding. Does that mean that their priorities are out of whack? Right. Probably not. Right. They're just an awesome parent working through debt. It's just such a sensitive. We don't want to judge anybody.
How do we separate those that are a workaholic versus those that are just trying to provide?
Oh gosh, what a question, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Everyone think about that. How do you separate?
And how do you separate that to what your kids think of you? Because that's even harder.
Oh, well, I think you're answering.
I missed little Johnny's birthday because I got called in. I'm a nurse, and I had to do there, or I'll be going to get fired. And then little Johnny says, "Well, you're never here for any of my games. You're never here for any of my."
Answer the question. I don't know the answer to that question, but I think that, let's say someone's asking that question. Maybe I'm a workaholic. Maybe I'm in that 30%. I mean, 30%. That's high. That's almost a third.
Yeah.
So if you are working a lot, you should need to ask yourself this question. Do you have a healthy relationship at work? And I'm just repeating what George just said. What if you don't know? What do I do about it? And did you notice I didn't answer the question?
I know. I'm just asking it rhetorically.
No, I think you gave us the answer. One way to evaluate your relationship with work is to ask your children.
Oh, I like that. Ask your kids.
That's your idea.
You're right. I didn't think about that as the idea, but you're right. Let's
answered it.
Let's ask our kids if they think I work too much.
Here's another way to evaluate. I wrote this one down. I think home life is really freaking hard for most of us, man. It's really stressful. Marriage, home life.
That's because they build these houses and they don't like put big slides out of the second story down to the ground, or like a big jumpy house inside. Like, why can't we make our houses more fun?
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, a whole trampoline room. Just get out of my face, kid.
Come on.
Go on a slide.
Right.
It's just so stressful being a parent. And if you're a working parent, that could be even more stressful. But if you're a stay-at-home parent, that's so stressful. And I think for many parents, they find their joy in work, their peace, their identity. They get their emotions met in work. And I think one of the reasons why people choose workaholism over their kids is because they just enjoy it more. And they just need to be honest with themselves.
You're right.
That's why they're a workaholic. It's the same reason why an alcoholic. Why are you drinking right now?
Right.
Why are you drunk when you should be here being a parent?
I'm a better parent when I'm drunk, Sean. Let's be honest. All right. It's like I laugh more. I joke around. I'm willing to play.
Great. No, like that isn't that. I mean, this is why let's compare workaholism with alcoholism for a second. Here's a stat from Caron.org.
Karen?
Not Karen. Caron. Okay. I was surprised this number is not higher, but 6% of adults in the U.S. have an alcohol use disorder.
Oh, it's definitely
only 6%.
Higher than that. It's higher than that.
1 in 12 men and 1 in 25 women. Here's the sad thing. CDC reports in 2018, 2/3 of adults. Oh, no, that's not they report among adults ages 18 and over, 5% are engaged in heavy drinking. Again, I thought it would be much higher. And what that means
it is just go to the colleges.
Drinking?
Golly.
What is heavy drinking? Heavy drinking is per the CDC, 14 alcoholic drinks per week for men.
Oh, that's every
and
3
more
days.
than 7 drinks per week for women.
6-pack a night.
So that means if you're having a glass of wine a night, that's 6 drinks a week.
Yeah,
but if you have
or 7 if
one
you do
more drink as a
woman,
then you
1 a night. You're an alcoholic.
CDCs, you are in that 5%. and you are a heavy drinker. Isn't that interesting? Because
Yeah.
the media glamorizes, and even TikTok, they glamorize this form of comedy for women. I need more wine. I just buy wine and coffee.
That's
but
right.
if you actually do drink a glass of wine a night, you are in that 5%. That's interesting.
That is interesting. And, you know, I
interesting.
had a thought real quick when it comes to the workaholic versus the alcoholic. And I found myself unbelievably lucky with this, but finding an employer who is a family first focus. And I want to just put some hope in you right now, because as people who need a job, the employers also need employees. So there's this symbiotic relationship with both. Okay. And yes, they could say you're easily replaceable, but you can also find an easily replaceable employer, right? Now, if it's at the salary you want or not, I don't know. But what I'm trying to tell you is when you're looking for work or want to look for work, why don't you ask them how family first are they? Because there are going to be moments when you're like, I have to leave right now. And you don't want to be with that employer that's like, if you go, you're fired. You want to be like, yes, go take care of your family. And I think that's something that we as employees, we're a heavily employee focused society. If we can rise up and think like this, it's going to change our culture completely.
I mean, that's just 5-star advice, because so many people listening to this, they feel trapped.
They do feel trapped
because I get fired. No, you're not trapped. Just last night, I was watching an episode of The Office, and Michael Scott, it was after one of those later episodes when he got bought out by Sabre, and and the new boss of Sabre is making everybody stay late on St. Patrick's Day. And Michael Scott was trying to be a people pleaser. And then he walked right into Joe's office, who's the owner of Sabre. He says, Joe, it's 8:30. It's St. Patrick's Day, and I am going to release my employees. And he did, and he stood up for himself. And so even in the movie Elf, which I recently watched too, the dad of the character, he says, it's Christmas Eve, don't talk to my son this way.
Correct.
And he chose family first over his career.
Right.
And so, this is.
I can't imagine anybody who's come to those crossroads looks back and regret. Like, I wish I wouldn't have stand up for my kid. You know what I mean? It's like, no one's ever going to think that.
We're just trying to help here, Jordan. It's like, are you going to let society govern your parenting? Are you going to let your douchey boss govern your parenting and govern how you connect with your kids over your time? And so there's a couple more things to think about what other things can hijack a family first thing. Just a couple things. We're not going to go deeper into this, but let's just poke for a second at year-round sports. Love sports. Jordan and I played a ton of sports growing up. We love sports, but can you see how year-round sports can actually become so negative,
harmful,
all-consuming, and harmful? Can you see that, Jordan?
I've seen it. I've seen it right now. You get these cliques, these groups. It's like, well, they do it all year, so they're part of the big basketball crew, or these boys have been playing since they were 9, so they've got this clique, and it builds camaraderie, but also it can be very harmful to anybody coming in late. If you don't feel part of the club, it's very, I think the best way to parent this is just to make sure that your kids are open arms, be welcoming to everybody, right? Not be into part of this clique, which is hard because we all want to be part of the crew. We all want to wear the fanny packs and have the mullets, right? It's like we want to be cool. So it's like we want to be the cool
fanny
kids.
Packs and mullets. Those are what the cool kids are wearing now. Fanny packs and mullets. That's a good call. Yeah. And lastly, this is not as common, but I have seen in some situations, like, okay, if you don't have a family first mentality, I've seen some families, they choose academia over family. Here's what this means: that their child is studying constantly,
right? And
they're just grinding them on grades, and they push so much their academia or trying to get them into a college, and whether it works or not, it doesn't matter. You send a message to this kid: the most important thing in your life is not your family. It's not how you treat your brothers and sisters. It's not how you love people. It's not how you mature. It's not how you becoming a lovely adult with high mental health and esteem. It's about academia here. And do not let that or anything screw up your kids, everybody.
We're throwing out movies. I just watched the old school movie Johnny Tsunami. It was Johnny Tsunami. Watch that with the kids.
That.
But
hold on, well, your son's got a tsunami issue though, bro.
No, I know, but his name was Johnny Tsunami. He's a big wave surfer. But anyway, they do that. The dad was so much into academia that he wouldn't let his kid be his kid. And he's like, you need to go to school and you need to study. And it was just like this big teaching moment of like, you are not allowing your child to be the child that they, be the person they want to be. You're trying to force them to be what you want to be.
Yes. All right. Here's a very deep question. Let's say, as we wrap up our episode, let's say someone's listening to this and like, I really want to do this. How do I do this? How do I create a family first mentality, Jordan, Sean? How do I do it? Because I think I'm missing the mark. I think I'm off. I think I've really been kind of like, you're reaching my heart. I feel maybe convicted or like I'm a little off. How do I bring it back to my leadership style? Jordan, what would you say to that?
I would say that's a question a lot of us are asking right now. I think that's something that we all need to really look inside ourselves and to figure out how we want to address this as parents so that we can make sure we have this dynamic. And it's ultimately just reflecting on how we are as parents. And sometimes we need to do that. When you sit back and be like, how was I this year? Going into a new year, how was I last year as a parent? Let me talk to my kids and ask them what they thought. And what do I need to change going forward? How do I need to make this person better?
That's good.
I need more time to like sit with you, talk to you. Let's go camping this year. Let's find time where we put the tech away and we simplify and we can just talk to each other. Yeah. Let's go back to sit down family dinners and just talk to each other about the day. We've kind of, maybe we got away from that. Let's bring that back.
Yeah. I think two words that I think you're talking about is you're really talking about mindfulness and you're talking about intentionality, right? Because we're all going to drift, aren't we? There's just so many distractions to drifting away from what's truly most loving and most important. Isn't that true? I know I drift.
Life can get in the way.
I'm the family coach and I drift from my family.
Right? And it doesn't have to be. I remember when I was a kid, my neighbors every night, 6:00 dinner time, they knew. It was that predictability you talked about. And it was dinner at 6 every day, no matter what was happening. They dropped everything and it was family time in that moment. So if you can even start off by doing something like that twice a week and then expand it, which will allow the family to grow.
The word that I'll share to answer that question is habits. I think there's a famous book that's out on the power of habits and the psychology of habits. It's called Atomic Habits. We've talked about it on this podcast before. I think habits, you want to change your life, change your habits. Mm-hmm. You want to change how to change your habits, you change your mind. And then habits become your life. And once you have a habit, it becomes a part of the new normal. So if your habits are janky, well, then do the hard work of changing your habits.
And habits aren't easy. Okay.
They're not easy to change.
They're not easy. Just do it. Put a reminder on your phone. I do this habit right now because I don't have time to work out or anything, go to the gym. I'm full on dad mode of, I can make excuses all day long. But what do? I wake up at 4 a.m. for work and I do a workout right when I get out of bed. It's terrible. I hate it. I don't like it. And every day after I'm done, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that.
Yes.
It's a habit that some of us don't want to do, but you do it, you're going to be better.
Oh yeah. Habits. Jordan, one of my highlights of Christmas Day was, in my attitude of gratitude, is my oldest daughter. She's 18. She lives on her own about 3 hours away, and she's got a great job in sales. Her name is Maddie. And with her own money, she just bought everyone in the family, including her own grandparents, these really nice, very thoughtful gifts, personalized.
Really?
Just so
That's so
heartwarming
cool.
that she was able to share love and share her own finances, her own resources, to put so much time into it's like she's an adult. She's
That's
a loving
so
family
cool.
member, and it just warms my heart. And I'm just thankful to have her in my life, and I'm really proud of her. Tell me something you're thankful for.
I'm thankful for this year that I wasn't the Grinch that I always was.
Yeah.
Because I don't like consumerism. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like stuff. It gets in the way, causes trash. They don't like it. But anyway, my wife was so good this year, and she almost did a heart-to-heart with me prior to Christmas, saying, hey, you've been like this, and I would like it if you're like this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to be a team this year. You're not going to make me buy all the gifts and you just sit there. You're going to be part of the process. So it was this teamwork exercise that actually made this Christmas so much better because I had a smile on my face the whole day. It was great, and I'm thankful for that.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You are a good parent. Oh my gosh, family life and parenting is so hard. I hope today gave you some tools and some inspiration. And if you're enjoying this podcast, then please do me a favor. Leave us a positive review on your podcast provider. And if you're hearing this and you're struggling as a parent, your family is struggling, or you need parenting tools for that one challenging, struggling kid, Well, I will see you in a live Zoom call inside my VIP membership, and I will give you the specific tools you need to solve every problem you have and to stay strong, be close, and teach with.